Welcome to the game components of Cup of Caffeine card game. The first set of game components are the drink key cards. These contain the inner ring of the caffeine molecule, and they are different types of drinks that are brewed: coffee, tea, hot chocolate, and an energy drink. The next set of cards is the general molecule components, and they fall into three categories. You have the CN, the carbon and nitrogen molecule, the NO, the nitrogen and oxygen, and the OC. Those cards combined with these key cards will make the first inner two rings of the caffeine molecule. The next set of cards is the metabolite cards, and those cards actually will then complete to taste the caffeine molecule. I call them the INE cards because they all end in INE. This card here, Paraxanthium, has two sides to it. When it is not the paraxanthium metabolite, it has the 3 hydrogen. When it is the paraxanthium metabolite, it has the 1 hydrogen. You'll see how that works later. Same thing with theobromine, and theophylline has actually 2 cards, one with the single hydrogen atom at the bottom there, and the one where it has the 3. And then we have adenosine, which acts as an attack card, which can put to sleep your cup of caffeine and knock it out of the game for that player. Over here you also see that the paraxanthium affects athletic performance, theobromine affects the brain power, and theophylline affects concentration, which goes into our last row of cards. Brain power is you solved a problem. Using these on your cup of caffeine molecule will end up getting you these points if you decide to use theobromine as the choice of that cup of caffeine. Then also we have the athletic performance, where you can win 3 points because you won a game. The concentration from the theophylline, you memorized some material, you won 5 points with that. And there are several different other versions of it too, and this is our caffeine kit cards. It's time to take a look at the science of the game. So you have your coffee, tea, and hot chocolate key cards that give you the flavor of the drink you're going to brew, and the cup of caffeine has to match that inner circle is already given where the 2 nitrogens are facing off to the left. But what we need now is we need to complete these cards where the nitrogen and the carbon connect that way, and over here you have to have the oxygen and the nitrogen completing the card this way, and you now have the second circle of the caffeine molecule. This also comes into play when you have the 2 nitrogens facing to the right, or where they're balanced in the middle. But what you need to do now is you need to have a carbon and a nitrogen come over to here, and you have that all taken care of. But notice we have a carbon and an oxygen in this other general molecule. We'd need to find one of those, but it's already been used over here and right here. So we can actually use another one of these cards, the key cards for that, and we can put it under here. Notice it has the oxygen and the nitrogen, and we now have brewed 2 cups of caffeine, one with the coffee flavor and one with the tea flavor. And I have a little diagram here that is helpful for new players that don't understand the chemistry involved in it. But with these, if this in the to taste phase, if this was played, it would actually put this molecule to sleep. So that's the adenosine. When you play this one, it is now going to be to taste open to the paraxanthium or the theobromine when you play this. When you play this, then we automatically know that this is a theophylline, and it is going to be to go after one of these concentrate cards for those points. So now, when you play this one to taste the theobromine, the carbons have to come off, the hydrogen molecules have to come off those 2 carbons, that 1 carbon there, and the paraxanthium, instead of playing this side of it, we are going to play the 3 hydrogens, and they will go off to here. We now have a completed molecule of caffeine molecule with the theophylline metabolite as its nature. Okay, because of that, we then would be able to go after one of these concentrates, either the 5 or 4 points. And that's the science behind it. Alright, here's the gameplay of Cup of Caffeine. You start by the setup. You have your deck of cards of the caffeine kick cards. Number of players that are playing, 2. You end up turning up at least 3 of those. So basically, any time you, the number of players, you always add 1 extra caffeine kick card turned up. So we can see also deal 6 cards to each player, and you turn up 1 card in the discard, and then this is the draw pile. There's also these placemats that can help new players out who don't quite understand the caffeine structure. So you're all set up. Everyone has 6 cards, and with those 6 cards, there's 3 of them you get to keep secret in the cupboard. There's the other 3 have to be placed down on the countertop, ready to be used. I might put these down on the countertop because they're not as critical in terms of forming my first cup of caffeine. And let's just say this person puts all these down and keeps that into their hand. So, person with starting, usually like a cup of coffee or something like that. So I'm first person. To start the game, I draw 1, and I could draw from here too. I already have a CN here, but let's see. No, I'm going to. I have a CO. I am going to. Yeah, let's take that CN. I can take from there, and then this person. Actually, that person takes that. So now what I have to do is I have to start making my cup of coffee or hot chocolate. It doesn't matter. I got this one right here, and that person is going to start making theirs. So the brew phase that we're in right now, everyone draws 1 card, and then they start brewing, seeing if they can make that first inner circle of the cup of caffeine. So in this hand we have the cup of the tea right here. I need to put an N and an O over on this side, and N and O there, and then I need to put the C and the N right here, so I was able to brew a cup of tea. So I put that down here. I have this endazine card for later use. I did caffeine. At the end of the brew phase, you now either, if you weren't able, you have to discard. If you have more than 3 cards in your hand, you have to discard down onto your countertop, and you can go up to 5. Once you get over 5, then you have to start putting cards in the discard. These two players got rid of cards in their hand, so now what they do is they draw up to 3. This only happens in the end of the brew phase. It does not happen in the to taste phase. So this player's drawn up to 3, and this player needs to draw up to 3. Now we go in the to taste phase, and since this player is number 1, they can start playing some of their to taste cards. This player held on to the adenosine because they wanted to use it to knock out this player's first cup of caffeine. It is all completely done, and it goes into the discard on the bottom of the discard pile. So let's just say there were some other discards in there. It goes on the bottom of the discard pile, so those are not accessible until the deck is reshuffled. But they do go back into play. So now this player has gone once. Now this player over here was going to play these cards on there, but it's gone. Okay, so they cannot do anything to taste because they don't have a cup of caffeine. So this player can now go and do another round of to taste, and basically it keeps going around the circle, so all the players can play all their to taste cards that they want. Notice this run over here, the concentrate is a 5-point, or he might want to go and get the 9-point. He doesn't have one for the 9-point in terms of having the right card for that, metabolite card. So he has a choice to play either this one or this one. If he plays this card, that means he's going after the 5 points here. If he plays this card, that means he's leaving it open to go after this 3 or the 9 points there. So if he chooses to go for that, the nice thing about this card is once it's placed on here, it actually stops the adenosine card from ever being played on it, and it locks this in. This cannot be attacked then. So that might be a safe way to play. But if he's going after the 9 points, he might place this and wait till he gets a Paraxanthian card. Because, oh, no, 9 points is the Theobromine card. So he's going after the Brain Power card. Okay, so we place this on here. We are now at the end of the to taste phase, and we're starting a new round. And that's when the first player goes over there. We draw 1 card, they draw 1 card, and we start the routine over. Notice I don't have any of the key cards, so I know right away I can't brew a cup of caffeine. Let's see what this player got. This player doesn't have any brew cards, the type of tea card, so they can't play. So there is no to taste because I can't play and they can't play. So it now shifts over to me. I pick one, and then this player picks one. And it keeps on going and until you completely brew, until you completely are able to brew your, I want to put the theobromine this way right here, cover up that carbon molecule, and I want to put this right here. Once I've completely brewed, I then will go and get the one that I was after, brain power. I then have claimed this, and here's how I claim it. I just take the top key card and this, and I set it over here as my points, and then all the rest of these go back into play under the bottom of the discard. And that's the general rounds of play until three of these are achieved by one player, and that starts the end game.